to talk about blood, the 4 parts of your blood and what each of those parts do. While we're talking about the parts of the blood, we're going to pretend that this big tube is your vein, and we're going to add each blood part to the vein while we're discussing it. So the first part of your blood we're going to talk about is the red blood cell. The red blood cell is called a red blood cell because, yep, you guessed it, it's red. It's red because of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the part of the cell that attaches to oxygen and carries that oxygen throughout your whole body, to your brain and your toes and your fingers and everywhere. And then when it takes that oxygen and drops it off, it picks up carbon dioxide and brings it back to your lungs so that you can breathe it out. And that's how red blood cells keep you healthy. And they have a really big job, which is why there's more red blood cells in your blood than any other type of cell. So let's add the red blood cells to our vein. Now we're going to talk about the white blood cells. White blood cells are called white blood cells because, yep, they're white. White blood cells also have a really important job. They protect you from infection and diseases. There are several different types of white blood cells, but there are still very few white blood cells in your blood compared to red blood cells. Let's add our white blood cells to our vein. Now we're going to mix it up a little bit. Now we're going to talk about plasma. Plasma is the liquid part of your blood. Now if plasma is clear, why does your blood look red? That's because the red blood cells cause the plasma to look red when they're all mixed together. Plasma's job is to hold all the cells together in your veins. So let's add our plasma to our veins. See how the red blood cells cause the plasma to turn red? Now that our blood is nice and red, we're going to talk about platelets. We're going to use flour to explain the platelets and what they do in your blood. But in order to do this step, we need to put on some gloves. It's also a good idea to roll up your sleeves. This one gets messy. So platelets are actually not cells. They are actually broken pieces of cells that swim around in your blood. Platelets are activated whenever you get a scrape or a cut or something like that that causes you to bleed. Whenever platelets find out that you're bleeding, they jump into action. They work together and they rush to the site of the bleeding. So we're going to start adding our platelets to our blood. As the platelets come together, they start clumping up so that your blood starts to get thicker and thicker. This is the fun part. As the platelets gather together at the site of the wound or wherever you're bleeding, they start to stick together and form a barrier. See, platelets might be tiny and they might be broken pieces of cells, but when they work together, they form this really strong barrier that stops your bleeding and keeps your blood inside your veins. Sometimes you can have too many platelets, and that causes your blood to be too thick, and you have to take medicine for that. Sometimes you don't have enough platelets, and it causes your blood to be too thin, and so then it can't clump together. And you can't create scabs whenever you have a wound or you have some bleeding. Blood is so interesting, the way all the parts work together to keep you healthy. The red blood cells, the white blood cells, the plasma, and the platelets are all important in order for you to stay strong and healthy. If you're interested in learning more about all the cool things that blood can do, or if you're interested in doing this experiment at home, we have the directions available for you in the activities section of this stop. Next time we're together in the lab, we're going to talk about the liver and what happens when your blood gets to the liver and how the liver keeps you healthy. The blood and the liver are just one more reason that life is so, so cool.